This episode is brought to you by Derek Gerard Photography. Derek has been a professional for over 20 years and covers everything from weddings, corporate shoots, meet and greets and VIP events. He was also one of the club photographers at Dundee Football Club for 13 years. Derek will travel all over Scotland and beyond to capture your smiles, and as a wee thank you to listeners of this show, he'll give you a 20% discount when booking. All you have to do is get in touch via his Facebook page, Derek Gerard Photography, and mention the code CF26. Now, this could save you something like £300 from the cost of your wedding photography, for example. He's a great guy. He's photographed some of my shows in the past, some of the events I've done. I've met the guy. He's a legitimately brilliant photographer and a lovely gentleman, and we thank him very much for sponsoring the show. Thank you. Welcome back to another episode of Stop Watering Dead Flowers with me, your host Chris Forbes, in association with the Stand Comedy Club. Once again, we'll start off with another little plug for our Edinburgh Fringe live show on the 20th of August. It's a Thursday evening, Thursday the 20th of August at the Stand Comedy Club in Edinburgh. We're going to have some wonderful guests from all over the world. We again want you to turn up, bring your own little Dead Flowers stories so that we can share them and discuss them on stage. Check it out, Thursday the 20th of March. Welcome back to another episode.
Stop watering dead flowers.
I'm delighted to say this week in the garden we are joined by the wonderful Jo Caulfield, an iconic comedian. I remember you saying that it was almost kind of amusing that I introduced you to that once on stage, but certainly a legendary, iconic stand-up that people, we've had a couple of acts on the podcast where people have said, when you're starting out in comedy and then you get to gig with that person for the first time, it's one of those occasions in Scotland where you go, oh, I'm getting to gig with Jo Caulfield. She's been on the telly. Like, you're one of the first people that you get to have, almost feel like, wow, this is like accessible. It feels like one of the industries where the top and the bottom touch sometimes when you're starting out, because you can be doing a newcomer night and then there's someone that's been going for longer or done really cool stuff that you get to share the stage with when you start out. It's kind of a cool thing. Are you aware that you've had that effect on people?
There's so much in that because, of course, my mind goes, if you say iconic, that's usually dead people. I think it's dead. It's, been around a long time. So there's lots of things like that in it. But I do think that's also kind of what's nice about comedy, isn't it? That it is, in the end, you're all just thrown together out on that stage and you have to make people laugh, whether you're very, very famous or been doing it for ages or whether you're new.
Yeah. I remember, is it in Jerry Seinfeld's documentary where he says, it doesn't matter who you are, you get like, even if you're super famous like him, you get 10 minutes of grace. But after that, if you're not doing well, it doesn't matter who you are. You still have to be funny.
That's funny. And I did see Jerry Seinfeld. I think he'd had that break. The sitcom had finished. He'd had a long break, got married and stuff. Yeah. And we were in New York. We were at the Comedy Cellar. No, and then there was this like whispering went around, somebody's in, which happens there quite often. And it was Jerry Seinfeld. And he went on stage and people went insane. You know, people in America are very excited anyway by people, but it was like, oh my God, it's him. So they clapped and clapped and clapped and clapped and clapped. And then he just went, so this happened. And he showed his ring and everyone went, oh, yeah. But then that same thing of very quickly, you're like judging him on what he's saying. And he was getting together a new hour. And quite quickly you're like, it's just a rhythm he has. Yeah. And he was literally saying things like, what's the deal with getting coffee? And we were like, well, tell us. It was like, it's just sort of, and it was suddenly I kind of saw through what he does. And because it was new, you're like, it's not really very good at the moment, is it?
Funny, yeah.
And people are like, what's the deal with, I don't know, don't care.
Yeah, the initial buzz dies down a little bit. That's funny. I remember when I was still doing, I think I was probably doing the open 10 minutes, maybe the opening 15 in the old format at the Stand, where Michael McIntyre was up at the Glasgow Stand trialling some stuff before filming some shows. And the joke we were all saying was, we all had fairly good gigs, but the minute he walked out and just said, hello, Glasgow, the place went absolutely nuts. And we were like, we all said hello, Glasgow too. But just, it was the person, and he was talking about the Scheme, the big BBC Scotland show, and they loved it. it's so funny to see someone in that environment.
Yeah, he's always been very good at doing local wherever he is. I remember him being on with him at Manchester Comedy Store, and he did the whole first 10 minutes with just an absolutely perfect Manchester accent of kind of like the Scally and that, and everyone's like, oh God, this is going to be hard to follow. Yeah, really good. And there was a story of... it was Carl Donnelly told me that when he did his first 20 at the Comedy Store, and he thought it had gone really well, and he was really pleased, and he was being sort of cocky, and Don Ward, who runs the store, was there, and so, you know, Carl was like, well, this is my moment, and he went, so what do you think? And he went, well, maybe watch The Last Guy, and it was Michael McIntyre, and then he went, and people went insane. This was before he was on telly. He was just that good, and Carl was like, oh yeah, there's always more to learn and better to be, you know, better things you can do, and yeah.
That makes me feel better about the fact that Don has torn me to pieces.
When you have the chat.
Absolutely.
Oh, it makes me so cringe. I'm so frightened for people when he goes, oh, let's talk.
A couple of times. And then one time, similarly, I thought it had gone really well, and it was 20s I was doing. He'd come down to see one, and I was buzzing. I was like, he's going to be delighted about this. And he actually went through the whole set, like picking out bits, and I do the dog barking routine. It's like a very safe, mainstreamy bit that I always think, great. And it was like people clapping at the end. But he was like, and then you finished on that dog bit. I thought, really? Really? I was like, oh no, this is terrible. But yeah, he
But I don't think there's anyone else that does that, who runs a club that critiques comics in that way. But I mean, fair play to him. He's, 110 or something. And he comes down and watches all the open spots, and he's still spot on. And sometimes he'll say something and you go, God, he's absolutely right about that. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
He knows what he's doing. You must have started comedy, I should say as well. It's great that we've adopted you, certainly, as a Scottish-based act now, living over in Edinburgh. But how long have you been here? And did you start off comedy, obviously, down south?
Yeah, so I was living in London when I started, and it was a very, very different scene. It was small, you know, and I'd had an idea about wanting to do comedy, but I thought comedians had to be very gregarious and showy-offy. Like there was Billy Connolly, and he was like, I liked... I'd sort of seen the young ones, and there was French and Saunders, but it was all a bit more sketchy, so I wasn't quite sure.
It's quite big. And
I thought you had to be like life and soul of the party, and I thought, well, I can't do that. And then I went to a comedy club, and I saw Jack D. It was the old Comedy Store, which was in Leicester Square, and Jack D came on, and he was just sarky and moany and didn't seem to care whether the audience liked him or not. And
this is making so much sense now.
And the MC was a guy called Mark Lamar, who doesn't do it now. And I knew Mark because I used to be a rockabilly, and I knew Mark from the rockabilly circuit.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I didn't know he did stand-up. I'd heard someone say they'd seen him on telly, and he just thought it was a lie. They said, oh, Mark Lamar had been on telly doing stand-up. No, he hasn't. And Mark was also similarly, and even when he was on television, didn't care if people liked him or not. And very deadpan. Said he had a joke that I thought was one of the most sarcastic things ever that I loved, and it was about Stanley when he was looking for Dr. Livingstone in the jungle.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, I always thought he seemed very sarky because you go out in the jungle, in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by African people, and he sees him, Dr. Livingstone goes, Dr. Livingstone, I presume. He goes, what a sarky bastard, and I just thought, oh, that's such a nice observation. So it was him that made me think, oh, you don't have to have that personality. You don't have to be Billy Connolly. Billy Connolly's amazing, obviously, but you don't have to be that person going, hey, everything's fun, and I'm the most fun person.
Yeah. Totally
so
different
I was like,
styles.
Oh, you could just go on and moan about life. I could do that. And I'd already seen Steve Martin made me realise it doesn't have to be like... Jokes seem to me really hard. How do you write a joke? Yeah. But Steve Martin was like, oh, he's just an idiot. I'd watched like Walking Around with the Arrow in the Head. And that's French people, different word for everything. And I was like, oh my God, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen. But it also seemed doable. Yeah. I mean, I didn't realise that's what Steve Martin done. He'd like deconstructed. He'd already done the writing jokes and doing all that and learned everything to the point where he could just, then just go on and be an idiot. But it was very well worked out, idiot. But I didn't know enough then. It just, I think if you already knew how hard stand-up is, you'd never do it. Would you?
Oh, boy, no. God. And that's what they always say, isn't it? The people that make it just look easier, they're so good at it, you don't realise.
Yeah, and then that lures you in. Yeah. You go, oh, God. And then people are staring at you and going, why aren't you very funny? I don't know. I thought it was easy.
I always remember, I can't remember if I've said this on here, but I remember it was the day I was doing my very first ever stand-up comedy spot, which was I think it was 5 or 7 minutes of the So You Think You're Funny competition. Again, not knowing that there was a scene in clubs and people don't apply for that competition until like a year in and stuff. But that was my first gig, and that day in the Daily Record there was an interview with Eddie Izzard, who was kind of at his pomp, really, I guess, at the time. And there was this horrible paragraph that stood out to me where the sentence said, there's a really big difference between being a stand-up comedian and being funny with your mates in the pub. And I was going, oh no. I thought I was doing this because I've been really funny in the pub with my mates.
But I think that's also what you're aiming for.
Exactly, yeah.
Is that to make it feel like that.
Similar.
And it was funny that I did gig in Scotland quite early on with The Stand. And I can't remember how it came about, because it was only last night in Edinburgh where I'd gone for drinks for Paul Snedden, Vladimir Matara, celebrating 35 years of doing stand-up. And I walked past the original stand in the Grass Market and remember being, I must have been doing my first, I don't know what I was doing. I was up in Edinburgh. Oh, I was doing a compilation show, my first the compilation show that used to be called the Big Value Comedy Show.
Oh, yeah.
And it was me, Mike Gunn, Jack Russell, who sadly passed away, and Tony Roach, who went on to produce and write Succession. Whatever happened to him?
That's wild.
And then, but I'd done a gig there and that again, and I'd seen Jane Mackay, and I'd never seen a woman like her, just like so in control, just like rude to everybody in the audience. And I was like, oh, you can be rude to them. This is great. And then I think they had started to book me, because they've always been very pro-women, started to book me early on to come up for weekends. And I, because my husband was Scottish, I wasn't, I think also because my family's Irish, I didn't have that like fear of like Scotland's a different country. Yeah. How will I do comedy here? Yeah. I was like, oh, I think they're the same sort of people. And then I came and went, oh, they're not. Not, and with my accent, you have to sort of explain yourself a little bit to Scottish people. But I had that, I liked the fact that they were like, Scottish people like you being rude to them in that, very tricky. I've seen it go wrong. I've seen English acts where I've gone, oh God, don't say that. And they've tried to do like Celtic Rangers,
oh no, they've tried too hard.
Oh God, you don't know what you're talking, and they will get things wrong, and you're like, oh. So, but if you do it from the right point of view, or pretending you don't know, but you do have a certain knowledge, then
it's appreciated.
And also because I'm married to an Aberdonian, so I've seen the worst face of Scotland.
You've seen
I've
misery.
seen that absolute go on then, make them laugh, where they're like, oh, I'm having the best time of my life.
Yeah.
And
shout out again to our tech Sean here from Aberdeenshire.
I didn't know you were from Aberdeenshire.
chuckling away. It's hard to believe he's smiling right now.
Deadpan. Like where I always go, it's like you could be like, oh, we've won the lottery, and my husband would be like, well, that'll be a lot of money to work, spending all that money then, won't it? Oh God, another thing to do now. So, which I like. I like that about them, because they're not, and they're always like, well, we look at idiots. We walk around smiling everywhere. All those cheerful people looking like absolute morons.
It's lovely to hear about the kind of background to getting into stand-up and comedy and the coming up here and the differences. And the other thing before we delve into the format of the podcast is not just a highly regarded stand-up comic, but now also a author as well. Of the Funny Thing About Death book as well. About your sister. Are we okay to ask you about that?
Oh,
and I mean, you wrote that obviously in the aftermath of her passing. How was that coming from a kind of comedy-minded persona to then write about something that's quite hard hitting? Obviously, it's a funny book as well, but was it quite a big undertaking or change of?
I mean, it really did start very organically. So Annie, my sister, died of cancer, and it all happened quite quickly because, and I do talk about this in the book, because people deal with cancer very differently, and she didn't want lots of people to know about it. So it was a very small circle. And also she continually told me she was getting better. And as my older sister, I was always very obedient. So if she said she was getting better, then I thought she was getting better. Yeah. So when she died, I mean, when she went into the hospice, she said, I'm going to a place. She goes, it's sort of like a spa.
Wow.
And she goes, and I'll just have a bit of therapy there and then I'll be fine. So even going to the hospice, it didn't occur to me. Yeah. And I remember seeing a woman crying her eyes out and saying, I'm never going to get well. And it was like a punch in the stomach, because I knew something. I was like, I think I've got this wrong somehow. Why is that woman so upset?
She couldn't have just had a terrible treatment.
Yeah. So I think I was in shock after she passed away, and there's a lot to do when someone passes away. And I mean, I sort of make sure my mum was okay and everything, and my sister's partner, was he okay? So it was just, I started to write things down about how it was dealing with someone with cancer, because I realised quickly it was her cancer, and you have to follow what they want to do. Don't you ever judge how you think they should deal with it. But then also my sister was a writer, and I thought, it'd be really nice for people to get to know her through her work. Yeah. So I thought, that could be something. And then I started to think of it as maybe it could be a book. But apparently I did the wrong thing, because when I started to try and pitch it to people as a book, they went, have you written the book? No, you write the treatment and then you write the book. And I said, I don't know what the book is until I'd written it, So it was very cathartic to write. And there was lots of funny memories from childhood and also using her writing. And I just she was a very big personality, very funny, but quite a mixed personality, quite troubled in some ways. So I sort of wanted people to know her. And then one of the best things is people then getting in touch and saying, I really wish I'd met your sister Annie, or what a great person. She seems amazing, but I felt like I knew her, and that's the best thing.
Oh. And it must have resonated with so many people that have had a family member as well.
Absolutely. I think also in getting older, nearly everybody I know, that, parents have gone, but also some people have lost a sibling. And I mean, it was weird that my sister-in-law, her younger sister, sadly, died a month after my sister from cancer. So it's like we always sort of had that in common. And then people start dropping like flies, and you're like, oh my God. It's like I'd gone on. My dad had died, but that was, you expect that. But this, all of a sudden, it was like you realise the fragility. And my sister was 57, and then you get to that age, and you're like, oh my God, this is like bonus time now. And it sounds like a cliche, but you do think about life and kind of value it more. And also, it was a way of giving back. So I'd all the royalties go to Macmillan, and I did the West Highland Way for Macmillan. Because I didn't know what it was. This very sort of charming woman at Macmillan Benefit, Caroline McEwen, charmed me completely. I sort of got a crush on her. And she said, do you want to do the West Highland Way? Maybe get some friends to do it. So I roped in 3 people. Now, one of them, my friend James McLucky, he's from Motherwell. So he went, do you know how long it is? Yeah. And I was like, I don't know. 97 miles in 4 days. That's a lot. I mean, it really did nearly kill me.
Oh,
I also found out that I'm quite bad-tempered when in pain, because I remember at the end of the day, and they clap you as you arrive at the hostel, and I was like, oh, fuck off. I was just like, wasn't even the feet had good, they train you well, but physically my body just couldn't, like my every muscle was like, oh my God.
The midges can be bad along there as well.
We were really lucky
when you go.
Yeah, because we did it in August, but it was not midgy and it didn't rain. So, in one way, because other people do it, with squelching feet. It was the up and down, the relentless, beautiful topography of Scotland where you're going, oh, God, we're going up again. Jesus Christ. Oh, and scree underfoot where you're looking out for bits of grass that will be like, oh, my God, that'll feel good. But it did give me then, we all kind of went, it was horrendous.
Yeah.
but I did love walking all day outside. So since then, I've done with these friends, we do other walks but we've done them in Spain and Sicily, Tuscany, as a bit of a treat, and we'll do like a 20 miles max.
Right.
But it's between it's like 12 to 18 miles a day. Lovely. And
what's that famous walk people do?
We do
Spain?
Camino.
The Camino.
That's how we started. There's loads of them.
Right.
All Camino that go to end up in Santiago de Compostela. And we did that. And funnily enough, my sister had done one of those and written about it. So the first time we did it, it felt quite close to her to do it. And then you can just do any section. You have to do 100 kilometres to get your little pilgrim certificate. Right. But they're all over, and they come from all over. And then we did ones, apparently there's these ones, the Frankie Jenner, which is the Franciscan way or something. And I think that's made up. Because there's also one in Sicily you can do from Palermo to Agrigento, and I can't remember is that the Frankie Jenner, but that's the pilgrimage on the way to Mecca.
Oh, wow.
Must be going to Bethlehem. I don't know. I mean, I'm not into that part of it. But they've gone, we've got one here. But I think it's just because they know the Caminos have sold.
Oh, wow.
So for tourism, they've gone, we've got one. We'll put some signposts out. And then we did one down in southern Italy. And then this year we're doing the Tuscan one, which I think is a Franciscan way, maybe. Not sure. But they all end up in Rome, which kind of makes sense.
Beautiful.
That you're on they love it.
Yeah.
So that's a nice thing that I do now.
Big time. Yeah. And do you know, just to go back a little bit, it just reminded me of a Bruce Morton line, actually. Shout out to Bruce Morton when you're talking about getting older and people around you and parents. He used to come on stage sometimes and say, you're getting older when people stop asking how your mother's doing.
Yes.
And I thought, God,
so that's profound. Very true.
Yeah.
I mean, with people of my age, we're always saying, I actually say, and your parents are still here?
Yeah.
That's the way we talk about it now. You go, they're alive. Yeah. Because they're very, very old people, and then it's a different part where and funnily enough, I was talking with comedian Mick Ferry about this, because you go, you're at the age where you don't have parents, but you still feel like you would like parents, and funnily enough, your own parents don't talk to you about that.
No.
They don't talk to you about, still feeling like an orphan, even though you are, very much an adult.
Wild. Excellent. Well, this is lovely to get to know you more as well and some of the stuff you've been doing.
Full of the joys.
But looking at the format of this podcast, when you did find out what it was about, or you listened to some of the other ones you said, what was your initial reaction? Were you someone that thought, I've got loads of these? Or were you thinking, I'm actually pretty good now at letting stuff go?
Letting stuff go, I'm not a big one for regret, because in a way that's holding on, isn't it? And you go, that's just such dead weight. So I was trying to think, regret, no. And also regret means I think it stops you doing things.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have a go at something if you regret it. And I've always been a bit kind of like, like when I was very into rockabilly as a teenager, I was like, I didn't want to watch a band. I want to be in a band, And so I did that. And then I was like, I was buying like vintage clothes. I'd like to sell vintage clothes. Everything to me was like a little, not for the money, but a little business. I always had this thing like I want to be in control of things. And then it was the same with stand-up. Like I'm listening to people and, and enjoying stand-up like it was videos of people and that, and you go back, is that a thing? How do I do that?
Yeah.
I'll open my own club and then I'll book myself. So a lot of I think it's great, go into things with no knowledge because at least you have a go. Yeah. And I think what I hold on to is injustice. That is my main memory of childhood.
Wow.
Is injustices that I felt adults were not always right, and they made judgments about you that are absolutely not true. And then years later, that story would be told as like an amusing anecdote of when Joey, I was called Joey by my family, was little. And you go, but that wasn't the case. Yeah. And there's one story, and because I remember my dad telling it not that long ago, and we would go every summer to relations in Northern Ireland, because my mum, big family there, my dad's from Ireland as well. But my auntie would hire a house in Donegal on the coast in Buncrana. And my dad took a load of us kids, my cousins, and it would have been a lot because there was 8 in one family.
Oh, wow.
So I think he maybe took the littler ones around my age, like I was about 6. So us littler ones, maybe about 6 or 7 of us, to an ice cream parlour. It's proper Italian ice cream parlour. I'd never seen anything like it. And I still remember it because of the bright colours. Like it was that bright Formica, orange and reds and a coffee machine, and everything seemed to make a noise, and it was amazing. And we got Knickerbocker Glories. I never seen them outside of a comic, I think, or a cartoon. Like this amazing dessert. And you got one each and ate it. And I thought it was the most amazing thing. And then we went back to my auntie's house, and then some of the older kids were there. So my dad said, oh, well, you kids didn't get this, so I'll take you to the ice cream parlour. And I went, oh, can I come? And I got in trouble. And my dad went, no, don't be so greedy. You've had an ice cream. And all the adults were like, how greedy is that, Joey? She's had an ice cream and she thinks she can go and get another ice cream. And I was like, no. And when my dad told it again, I went, no, it wasn't that. I knew how much they would enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I couldn't wait to see their faces when they saw these amazing things.
Yeah.
I never occurred to me that you would get another one. Of course I wouldn't. I would probably never get another one in my entire life. But it was this judgment by the adults. And then it was a lot of times I thought they don't often know best about things. I also remember being at school, and it was in art. I wasn't very good at art, but I didn't mind that. And we were told to paint our house, like draw our house, and it was to learn line drawing or something. And quite quickly I realised this is opening up a can of worms here, because Jill Bryden, from what I can see from the photo she's brought in, lives in some sort of Elizabethan mansion. And of course the art teacher is delighted with her house, because I remember the stained glass windows, the little windows she had, and how interesting it was. Someone else, this was a school in Norfolk, where they have a lot of Dutch-style farmhouses with the gable ends. Oh, gable-ended, another huge house that's very interesting. And I lived in a perfectly serviceable red brick 1950s. It was an RAF camp house, so very regimented, not interesting at all. And then someone else started drawing their holiday home in Spain. And I was like... And they always wanted to go, Jean Ward lives in a caravan. What are we going to do then? And I remember thinking, what is Jean Ward going to do? Because her family, I now realise they were itinerant farm workers.
Oh, wow,
They came with, because a lot of crops to pick in Norfolk. And I was like, this is a really bad idea. Because me and Jean Ward and quite a lot of other people are feeling very bad about our homes.
Yeah.
And again, it was like, why do adults not think these sort of things through?
That's wild, but you were obviously very conscious of stuff when you were younger in terms of...
I wonder if that is...
empathic as well.
And also that, I think that, that healthy disrespect for authority.
Right, yeah.
Just because they're in these positions doesn't mean they know shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're
from quite early.
Rallying against the establishment.
Yeah, and I think maybe because maybe it's the forces thing that, that everything is very regimented. So you're surrounded by that, and you're like, because I can remember a friend I used to play with, and it was summer, so we were playing out late in my garden, and I remember seeing her dad at the fence, and I thought, that's weird, and he was waving for her to it's time to come in. And then he went round to our back door, and my dad said, oh, that was very nice. He seemed a very nice chap coming round to the back door. Because he wasn't an officer.
Oh, wow.
And even as a child, you're going, she's my friend. We can't have this. I'm a little communist. What's going on? Just lots of things that adults seem to do that I was like, right. So I think what I've retained is that disrespect for authority. And I know I'm very like that with MPs now, where they're like, people treat them like they work for us. No.
That feels like, not a cliche, but was that quite common with other kids that you knew that were children of people in the forces? It always feels like people will rally against people in the most authoritarian type things, kind of like almost like a kind of flash dancey father's the preacher, so they're automatically going to be more wild.
Yeah, maybe it is that. And there was things like, also I didn't think we didn't actually fit in very well. My dad was far too sort of, he was very theatrical. I think that's mainly, he was like in amateur dramatics, and I don't think he was very interested in the discipline of the Air Force either. I think he'd seen a lot of, he grew up in Belfast, he'd seen a lot of war films, and I think he liked The Officer's Mess and the outfits and all of that. He was going to be David Niven, but not actually. It's quite dull, really. And a lot of the people are quite dull because they like regimentation,
This is good though, because we traditionally always start with the childhood ones as well.
Yes,
so this
the
is giving us a
childhood is
good
more
insight.
rage,
Rage.
which I have kept with me because they're not right. And then things that you remember. And again, we'd moved. Then we were in London, and I remember a policeman coming to the school, and they had this film, and it was all about don't get into somebody's van if they offer you sweets.
Yeah.
And I always remember that. And I remember as a kid going, right, but you could just get the sweets and not get in the van. And I thought, what a bad film, because you're just going, there's a way around this. And then years later, when I did move to London when I was 17 and I was getting the tube, I was going to stay with my sister at first. And she told me how to get from the tube to where she lived. But it was a really long walk. And this is before suitcases had wheels.
Oh, wow.
So I had this huge case. And then a man in a white van stopped and said, where are you going? And I said, I've got to get to a place in Crouch End. And he went, well, you can't carry that. I'll put that in the back of the van. And I got in his van.
Wow.
And he was just a very nice man.
Not even the promise of sweets.
No sweets, just a lift. And years later you go, oh my God, I got in his van. But I think it was that instinct of like, he seems a perfectly nice man.
Yeah.
It's just like, well, you can't carry that. And he was right, I couldn't carry it.
Wow.
But yeah.
It sounds so close to being something that people would be like nowadays going, did anyone ever see that Jo Caulfield documentary on Netflix? Up and coming comic, got into a van, never seen again.
Never seen again.
Different times. Wow. I often think of that with my uncle who regales me and my brother and sister all the time about he did the backpacking around Europe, but just hitchhiked around Europe with his pal.
Oh, I did that. Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm like, God, I mean, you just can't
And it
do
is,
it now.
no, but it is dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I did it with my sister. And again, very quickly, like the older sister, she went, I think 2 women.
Yeah.
I was like 17. No, I was still at school, so I was 16.
Oh, wow.
She was 21. And we got propositioned constantly by men in lorries. And I remember we were on a hairpin bend in Switzerland. And Annie said to me, when it slows down, I'm opening the door, jump out. And we jumped out of this moving lorry. Yeah,
No
because
way.
the guy had got handsy. It's really dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, it wasn't my uncle. When he was travelling around Europe, maybe he had a lorry. That'd be a terrible crossing of the stories. Well, that's great. It sounds like we've got an insight into your upbringing, which perhaps gives us an insight into the processes behind your following stories. If we were to move forward and go into the career type stuff, are you someone that had lots of different types of jobs? Did comedy come to you quite quickly? I know you said you tried to do different businesses and setting things up.
I really had no plan. I came to London when I was 17 and I got a job as a breakfast waitress at the Tara Hotel, which I think is now called the Tower Thistle. It's still there behind Kensington Tube Station. But it meant you got accommodation as well.
Oh, wow.
They lived in this sort of hostel in Ladbroke Grove. So as far as I'm concerned, I set for life.
Yeah.
I've got a job, I've got somewhere to live, and breakfast waitress, your nights are free, so I could go out every night and thoroughly enjoyable. Did waitressing, then met this woman who said, went another rockabilly, and she said, would you like to be in a band? And I said, I can't play any instrument. She said, doesn't really matter. She was right. I played drums quite simply, let's say. So we did that, and then with her, I started selling clothes.
What was the rockabilly band called, can I ask?
The Girl Can't Help It.
Nice.
Because we were all
cool.
women,
Right.
apart from her, sorry, feminists, apart from her boyfriend, who played the guitar and taught us all how to play our instruments.
Okay.
There was a girl on saxophone as well, yeah. And then I was selling 50s clothes, and we got a shop. There used to be a thing then, the Enterprise Allowance Scheme.
Right.
Some comics went on this. I remember hearing Jeremy Hardy say he went on that to be a comedian.
Oh, wow.
So you had to come up with £1,000. So I saved up. You had £1,000. You gave that to the government, and then they gave you an allowance every week for running a business.
Wow.
So I think you had to have the £1,000 to show that you were serious.
Yeah.
But then you got your rent paid. So I did that, and then I was like, oh, now I'm working in a shop. That's really boring. So I don't know quite what I want to do. Then I started waitressing properly, like. But I was about 25 by then.
Right, yeah.
You know, but I did that because I earned more money doing that. The clothing business did not do well. So I earned more money waitressing. And then I did.
Were you someone that was quite good at doing like the plates up the arms?
Oh yeah, because I'd done that at school. I'd done silver service
really?
at school.
Because I couldn't do it. I remember, I think it was Ryan Collins was on, and he said he was good when he was a waiter, but I could never master that.
Yeah,
up
because
the
sometimes
arm.
you had serving dishes, and when it was banquets that you did, it'd be like Rotary Club and stuff when I was at school, and you have to go around with your 2 spoons to, and then sometimes it was a whole chicken. You have to pick up a whole chicken. You're like, oh God. And it was always weddings, but great big platters with half a chicken like that, and you had to have the thing on your arm, tea towel on your arm, or you'd be all burnt up here. And then I worked in this restaurant in America. It was an American style, but it was very new, this thing of burgers and those big trays. You had to carry the tray, which was quite new. It's called Chicago Meat Packers. What a terrible theme for a restaurant. And it had a meat packing train that went around. And it was run by this guy from Chicago who'd come to Britain in the 80s and gone, hey, they don't have any of these meat packing things. And it was ribs and burgers. Right. And there was a cow that lit up and you would pick which bit, you know. But it was also our serving area. So you might be on the rump area of the restaurant and the light would flash and you'd go in the kitchen. But it was really busy and really highly stressful. Like there was nearly always somebody crying because you couldn't get your food out. And also you were responsible for the money. Oh, wow. So you had to take the money and you had to cash up at the end. And if you were short, you had to pay in the money. Oh, and this was a time a lot of people used to do runners from restaurants. Yeah. So you were always on the lookout. You had the checks down and you'd say, I'm going to the kitchen, I've got a check down. So look out for that money and look out for them running. And sometimes people would run after people because otherwise you're going to have to pay for this. Yeah. So did that. It was such an awful thing, meat packing. And the guy who had thought of it, he eventually died of a heart attack, which we were all thrilled at. Because he was pushing this really terribly unhealthy food. And it was, and it was very unfair on the staff. And it was also, they were taken to court because at that point there was a service charge which we didn't get. The service charge was shared within all the staff, but also the management. Oh, wow. And we weren't allowed to, like Americans would come in and go, do you get the service? And we had to say yes. So they didn't tip. But we didn't get the service. We got a percentage, like 3% of the service charge.
Wow. So that all came after the kind of closure, like the post office finally paying out after their scandal.
Yeah. So the comedy was like it was somebody else I knew who did an open spot the night that I went and saw Jack D and Mark Lamar. And I hadn't seen Mark Lamar for a while because I'd stopped being a rockabilly by then. My friend died on their arse and I never really saw them again. But I had seen the setup. Yeah. And also that you didn't have to pass exams or anything. And you, as far as I could tell, you could just phone up and get on to be an open spot and do this 5 minutes. And the Comedy Cafe, they had a competition every Wednesday night. That time you didn't phone up. You went down, put your name on the list. Right. And you had to have 5 minutes. And so I'd written 5 minutes. I'd sort of worked out that you had to write material. And I did it. And I won the first night.
First gig, really?
First gig, which is very common, I think. The first gig is great because you're frightened, but you don't know that you should be. Yeah. How scared you should be. Yeah. And also I'd done a little bit of acting in some plays for my sister. So I was more comfortable maybe on stage. Yeah. Even though I didn't really know anything about stand-up. So then I won and I was thrilled. And I remember Jeff Boys was comparing the Scottish. He was comparing the show and he was really complimentary. And a guy who then stopped doing it, can't remember his name, Neville Raven. Yeah. And Noel James, the Welsh guy. Noel James was there. And I brought my friend with me and I just said, I think I found the thing. Yeah. I think I found the thing that I should be doing. And then you have to come back next week. Got 25 quid. Come back next week. And I thought, I have to have another 5 minutes. So I did the classic, wrote a shit 5 minutes, came back, died on my ass. I didn't realise, you can do the same bit and perfect it. But I was already hooked, and that's when I started doing open spots and trying to work out how to, what this thing is. I really didn't know what it was.
It's incredible.
Now people are much more fully formed when they start, I think.
Yeah. Sometimes, not that it's a bad thing, I guess it's always easy to recency bias maybe, but it always felt like it was easier when you start out, or that there was things that were better about when you start out. And I feel like the landscape before everything was filmed in clips meant people were like much more adventurous maybe, or trying wilder things, whereas now comedy's so big, people often start and they've already done so much, or they're filming it straight away, so they're already worked on it longer. So it's like people are much more professional from an earlier stage.
Yes, I think they are much more professional, and that's been for quite a while. I think as soon as more started to be on television, people were studying, and they would go, I've seen Russell Howard or whoever it is that you go, they remind me of so-and-so, because that's who they've been watching. So people, I say, they're much more fully formed, whereas this was all weird and you didn't really know what you were doing. And also that thing of everybody opening clubs. You go, I better open a club then. That seems to be the thing. I have microphones from before. Anyway, so do that. But I do remember that thing of having terrible gigs and it being mortifying. But the worst thing I had, and to this day, I don't like going to the toilet that the audience is using. So that's why at the New Glasgow stand, very pleased, there is a toilet backstage. Because it used to be, I'll go when the audience aren't having an interval, because you don't want to hear them talking about you. Because I used to comp at this club, the Electric Theatre in Guildford, and they had it in the foyer because there wasn't quite enough people for the theatre. So they would do it in the foyer on a Sunday night. And I would often drive the act to and from London as well to go there. And it was a very regular audience, and it was every fortnight. So I'd comp and going, I've got to think of new things to say. I'm under a lot of pressure because it's the same people in the audience. But it was very good for me because you work out how to come off script sort of thing and start talking to the audience a little bit or reacting to things. And then I went to the loo in the interval with the audience. And then I hear this group of women come in, and I heard one of them saying, oh, God, I can't believe that it's her again. And I'm just sitting on the toilet. And then this other one goes, I remember everything verbatim. And she goes, oh, God, I know. And I don't know why she comes, because nobody likes her. And that woman again goes, I know. And she's just so not funny. She never says anything funny. And I'm just absolutely more in there. And I thought, I'll just have to sit here. I can't go out till they've gone, but I do have to go out on stage and finish this show with that on their head. And I haven't seen these women, so I don't know who they are. But I thought, I'm not coming out. I'm just going to stay in here. But they hate me, and they've always hated me because I'm here all the time. And apparently it's not just them. Nobody likes what I'm doing. Oh, my God. And then the other one said, I know, and it's not like she's the best. Why did they make her head of accounts? Oh, my God. And I'm sure I may have made an audible noise sitting on the toilet going, oh. But then this is the thing I go, this is the thing you shouldn't have done. But I was so thrilled, and so also that way, this is a very comics thing where, I've got a thing to say now.
Oh, no.
So I'm going to tell the audience. A thing you would never do in real life.
Yeah, in any other social setting.
Exactly, but you don't think of this as real life. Because what's really important is you and getting a laugh and have something to say. So I told the audience about this thing. And I can see, like, these women just like, what is she doing? And I don't know which one of them it was, but it was one of them.
Oh, well. Too good, though. I think good. Good that you outed that conversation had been had.
Yeah. And if she's head of accounts, she can fucking get revenge on those bitches. Yeah.
Honestly, the first 3/4 of that story there, I was just going, this is awful. And it reminded me I remember hearing Frank Skinner say in an interview that one of his biggest things was that he was still very, insecure. You don't like overhearing people talking about you, especially at gigs. And he said when he was doing his own, the Frank Skinner show, sorry, if ever he was even walking down a corridor behind people in front of him, he would go, I'm behind you, by the way,
Yes,
just
I
so you don't say anything.
I do that
in case
now.
someone's
Still,
going to be talking about you.
I'm right here.
Yeah.
Because it could happen. Yeah. And it's still a weird thing, and to have anybody talking about what you've done, and you feel very I don't. So it's best to say it. Also, even if they say nice things, you still feel
Still
we
a bit
should
awkward.
say. Yeah.
Well, thankfully they weren't talking about you there as well. Because as you were telling that story as well, I was going, I was finding it hard to believe, because I was like, you aren't bad. So I'm like, you must have been terrible back in the day if they were saying this about you.
Oh, but I was.
So thankfully it
I
wasn't.
do think I was. It was very up and down. It's that thing you don't learn. You can have really good gigs, and then the next night go, oh, this isn't working at all, because you don't have the stagecraft, and audiences feel it off you. You have that thing where straight away you go, oh, this isn't going to work, because they know I don't know what I'm doing, and also I remember you don't judge it correctly. I remember coming off stage and thinking I'd had a great gig, and Jeff Boys giving me a hug and saying, "Don't worry about it, Jo. What do they know?" Oh, I thought I'd had a good gig. But, just a few people laughing then is a great gig. You're not aware compared to how, a proper comedian. Clearly that wasn't good enough,
That's funny. Even now it's funny, isn't it? When you think you've had a really good gig, but then someone else might go on and you're like, oh no. Like they've really smashed it.
That's what was in the room.
God.
Yeah.
All right, I get it, Don Ward. You were right, okay? The talk wasn't that funny. Well, that's a great one. I mean, I can imagine that conversation sticking in your head for a long time, but more so that you probably now wouldn't go out and decimate somebody else's social circle.
No. I don't need to ruin your life so that I feel good. Yeah.
That's a great career one. If we move out of the career zone to a relationship story, was there one in particular that reared its head for you amongst?
Well, weirdly, I don't know what this says about me. The relationship I'm going to put in in a career way as well.
Nice.
My relationship with people in television.
Perfect.
I wish, if you have a regret, it's that I didn't tell people in television, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, and that you let them waste your time. And it takes you a long time to realize that when you have meetings with people in television, that is their job, having meetings. Yeah. And in the meeting, their job is to say something.
Yeah.
So they will say the first thing that comes in their head after reading your script, which is a really arrogant thing to do. And they'll go, have you ever thought about this? Yeah, I thought about that 10 thoughts ago and rejected it. Do you not think I would have thought of that? So there was a time where you need everything to align for something to come off. So I'd had a bit of sort of talk about me. I'd had a radio show. This producer, TV, was very interested. Would you like to write a script? Yes. We're all, they're paying you. We're having meetings. And I said what I'd really like is, because I'm a stand-up, I'm used to talking to an audience.
Yeah.
I would like to talk to camera in the show.
Oh, yeah.
I would like to do that thing of going, well, this is what I'm actually thinking about this scene that's going on behind me. I remember as a kid, I had loved Frankie Howard. Oh, right. And I also, I'd watched the film Alfie and went, oh, that's great. He does it in Alfie. So it doesn't have to be ridiculous Frankie Howard. It's also a kind of cool thing to do. And it's really great. I was told that was really old-fashioned and you couldn't possibly do that. That's a terrible idea. It's just a thing that was done like in the 70s, but nobody would do that. Cue about a year later, Miranda.
Oh, of course.
It was just before Miranda and then Fleabag. And also things are very different now. Nobody would do this now because they know they're not allowed to. But it was a female producer who had rejected a different script. And I went, you can reject it. But think of a better reason. Because of nothing against Miranda, by the way, because of the success of Miranda, we don't need any more female projects.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the email.
Oh,
and I so wish I had it.
I was going to say that. What a great receipt to have. That's
Yeah. And I do remember I did keep it for ages, and then I did look for it. I thought, oh, maybe you did get rid of it, because I just was so shocked. So I thought, you can't do that. And they did, and I think it was my fault as well. But they kind of lead you on of like, this is really going to happen. This is really, oh, it's great, And I kind of neglected stand-up a bit as well. And then this producer, just like that, oh, I've got a different job somewhere else now.
Yeah.
Oh, well, who's this with? Oh, it'll be with this as the new producer. And I was like, well, he's not going to, one, I know he'll hate it because he's more like university boys comedy. That's what he likes. He's not going to like me at all. And also they want their own projects. So we're just dead in the water, so it's like 2 years just gone like that. And it was after that one, particularly, that one hurt. Like I'd had things before, but that one I was like, no, I feel you really led me on there.
Yeah.
And it's my fault as well because I've neglected stand-up. And I was like, right. And I didn't have any meetings. So I went, I'm never having a meeting again. I'm just going to do stand-up. I'm in control of that. And also doing that, like my stand-up got, better and better.
Yeah.
And I'd had like good, I'd written for Graham Norton for like 8 years. So I'd had like nice writing job that was good. So I had a sort of more choice about what gigs I did. But then I was like, no, I really do want to be a comedian. It was like, do you want to be someone who writes jokes for other people? Not really.
Yeah.
I do want to be a comedian. And so then it was that thing of going, oh, do you know what? If you put more effort into it, it gets better. and then I enjoyed it more and everything. But there was weird things. Like I remember having a meeting and this woman, it was also how much money they get. Like this woman who I was having the meeting with put her handbag, and this was when Mulberry handbags were a big thing. And I went, that's a £900 handbag you've just put on that table, and I think we're getting 600 for this fucking script. It's just like that degree where, and it's in all walks of life, isn't it? Where the CEO level, where they suddenly decide that they're worth an awful lot of money.
You wonder how the people end up in these positions, especially in comedy. I often think
Oh
that
my
as well.
God!
It's like, how are they there? And as you say, they just have to say something.
They have to say something,
justify their role.
And there was some good producers who had come through from, I would say in the earlier days, from either being performers like Jimmy Mulville from Hat Trick, had been a performer, had written scripts. Jeffrey Perkins, the same. These people you respected, but then there was other people who sort of came in through an admin level.
Yeah.
And you've never written anything in your life. And then there was one who had liked the radio show I'd done. And then they said, well, let's make it more of a sitcom with, basing it on, your character as the lead. So again, wrote another script. And then the feedback was they don't like the lead character. They said, the lead character is really unlikable. I was like, that's me. And there was a lot of talk then of like, you can't have an unlikable lead character. And we go, look at sitcoms.
Oh boy.
Full of unlikable lead characters. They're full of flaws. That's what makes them funny. But it's going, they don't like me. Oh, okay, well, I don't like you.
I feel like whatever producers tell you, they always end up doing the opposite anyway, or what they've been told that commissioners are looking for.
Oh, God.
I think I've talked about this before, but when you're talking about producers are kind of the worst part of the process, because you can get good ones, but at the end of the day, they're kind of, a lot of them are self-employed, they're independent, part of a company, and they're desperately trying to get stuff away as well. Yeah. So they promise you the world. And the phrase that we always used was like enthusiastic bullshit. Like it's like you really think they're telling you stuff because it's so enthusiastic, and then later you go, oh. And I remember, I don't mind naming him by name, Dan Baldwin, who is a really big producer. But when we had the sketch group, me and wee James and Kevin, and had a development deal with Talkback Thames, Dan Baldwin, who is this like almost classic London producer, like kind of. He was like, all right, boys, how you doing? Come on in, let's talk about what we're going to do. And he'd seen us gig, and we'd done like the new act of the year final thing at the I don't know, a big theatre that begins with a B in London.
Bloomsbury.
No.
No.
That's terrible. I can't even remember. He got us into his office the next day and he sat us down and he went, Kevin actually he recorded this meeting because we thought this is the meeting that's going to change our lives, and he'd like audio recorded it. He went, listen boys, I'm going to make you fucking massive. I was like, oh my God. And we were young guys going, this is incredible. Holly Willoughby's husband's just told us we're going to be fucking massive. Obviously, we were not massive. The development deal ran out after 12 months and that was us. Never heard from him again. But it was incredible, the things that they'll tell you.
Yeah, and you don't realise, and like you said, until you've seen it over and over again, you go, this is what you do, blow smoke up people's arse. And they'll say, I'm not blowing smoke up your arse.
Yeah.
Oh, that's your job. You're a smoke blowing arse.
Oh man, you're just reminding me now of loads of kind of unspoken about trauma in the world of TV commissioning. But with me and Jim's show, The Farm, that we developed for years, and I'd had a couple of mini-series on the iPlayer, and then we had a couple of the 30-minute episodes on television, and then we were just waiting for the call to be like, this will be the greenlit next big sitcom and we'll get a full series. And the producer on that, Steve, kept saying like, it's a sure thing, and he's like, we're already planning Christmas specials, and listen, we'll start thinking about this and that, and that'll be a good one for season 2, and like, and then I got a phone call, and it was on my 40th birthday. The morning of my 40th birthday, I was actually opening up cards, and just as a bit of a joke, he went, hi Chris, how you doing? I went, yeah, hi Steve. I was like, listen, if this is bad news, can I actually wait till tomorrow because it's my 40th? And he went, all right, well, I'll give you a call tomorrow. And I was like, oh my! And I was sitting there and I was looking at this joke card about how your life's over as well. Like my brother had got me for turning 40, and of course I couldn't wait till the next day because then I knew it was bad news.
Yeah.
So then I had to step away from family and go, like, I need to go and have this conversation, and was told that was it. It wasn't going any further, and you're like, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny that it goes along as like, it's part of the business. And then there's one that hurts.
Yeah.
And that was the one where you go, right, I'm leaving this for quite a while. Yeah.
And it's nice, as you say, if you actually just concentrate on stand-up or the things that you can control, you're like, oh, well, now if anything comes off the back of it, great, but I'm controlling this.
Yeah, and that lovely thing of going, no, I'm not, do you want to meet it? No, not really. No, what's the point? No.
I'd love to have seen a Jo Caulfield sitcom though, with you talking to the
Very
camera.
Very unlikable main character, yeah. Talking to camera, who does that? Really won't work.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. Cunts.
Just change the name of this podcast to Cunts and just tell vicious stories. These are all great stories. You've covered all the main topics, and then often we like to see if there's just a bonus one from any other walk of your life where you've thought, this is a little something that's been taking up some real estate in my brain. And if you do, this is your chance to get it off your chest. But if you don't, then that's all good.
I think being more discerning about people, realising, and I found this in lockdown, I didn't realise, I thought I was quite sociable, and it was only in lockdown that I went, this is how I like the world. And it was funny that weirdly my Aberdonian husband turns out he's the gregarious social one.
Wow.
And he was the one like meeting friends to go for walks and going, we got as far as Musselburgh and the pubs are open there. And I was like, I'm perfectly happy. I mean, I did have neighbours that I chatted to. And I had a Zoom meeting, once a week with some girlfriends, and we got pissed. And I was like, otherwise, I really like this. Yeah. And it was something freeing about like sometimes social situations are just... are they tiring or... Yeah, you cut down on people.
Yeah.
You go and then some people who I really, really like, and I go, I might only see them, right, I'm going over to see my friend in Dublin. We have dinner. That's it. Because he's worth it.
Yeah.
People who you go, no, these, you get more like, some people are just really worth the effort, and other people... You're like, and it's not, they don't care. They're, because I'm not. It's people who like everybody.
Yeah.
You go, well, then it doesn't mean anything. Well, I go, they've got so many friends. oh, they just like anybody.
Yeah.
Well, then the friendship to me doesn't mean anything because you would like anybody at all.
Yeah, who are the real ones here? Like,
Yeah.
they must be putting it on for some of them.
Yeah, it's got to be. How can you? I am, but sometimes you like them. Oh my God, yeah.
And then you automatically, as you get older, don't you? I guess you just like, you've got your friends. You don't need new ones a lot of the time. You're like, these are the ones that you...
It's interesting. I have discovered you can make new friends. You're not too old to make new friends. Because obviously moving to Scotland, then moving to Edinburgh, then to Leith. And then I did say, oh God, I do need to make some friends. Like I have some comedy friends, and I've made 2 new friends. The lady who edited my book.
Oh, yeah.
And I absolutely love her and very simpatico. And I was like, oh, you can make a new friend. Because I did get to the point where you go, but how long for us to be in, like, really in the friend zone? How many years do I have to put in? Do we have time? I don't know. But we've very quickly gone into the good, proper friend zone. So it's good to know, no, you're not too old to make new friends.
Yeah.
But you are too old to keep hold of people that are dead weight.
I'm just thinking this would be a good new sitcom idea, new friends and like going out and trying to make new pals.
Well, that was funny because my husband made lots of new friends when we moved here through activity, not like sport, but going to bands because he's really into music. And then he would meet, and he's got a very good pal, makes me laugh, that they do things with. And he's got a lesbian couple that look after him when I'm away for work. And they sort of take, and then sometimes they drink a lot. And I'll get texts from Shona going, I've broken your husband. He's sleeping on our couch. And I was like, oh, I think I have to put an effort into this thing of making some new friends.
That's good. That's nice, though.
Yeah.
That's a nice thing to hear. And a nice note to end
Never
on,
too
I
old
think,
to
as
make
well.
new friends.
Yeah. Lovely. Well, listen, Jo, thank you very much for telling your stories, taking the time to come through, for being social today, certainly, and coming through. What have you got coming up? Obviously, the book is still available as well.
Yes, A Funny Thing About Death is available, and royalties going to Macmillan.
And you got, you're doing live stuff all the time. Have you anything in particular that'll be...
I'm doing a little tour of Scotland in August instead of doing the festival. But because I live in Leith, I thought, well, I'll go insane if the festival's on 10 minutes from my house. So deliberately, I've booked a little tour of places, some of them, like the one you told me you used to live in, Kilbarkin.
Oh, yeah, Kilbarkin.
I had to look on a map and go, I don't think that's a place, but it is. So I'm excited about that because I'm excited to go to new places. And I also think it starts in Kilmarnock, and the only thing I know about Kilmarnock is that I was in a bar once, and there was an elderly Scottish man. You know the way older Scottish working class man, he's wearing a suit to go out for his drink, and he was there with a suit on, and this other man about his age came in, and this man said to him, "Huh, where'd you get that suit? Kilmarnock." And people laughed, and I went, I have no idea what that means. And I said to my husband, what does it mean getting a suit in Kilmarnock? And he went, no idea.
I don't know.
No idea at all.
Wow, I'm trying to picture if it was like a blue and white pinstripe suit.
Because the guy's suit looked sort of normal to me, but apparently...
You shall go and find out.
And I don't know if it was fancy or not fancy to be from Kilmarnock.
Was it an insult or a compliment?
Yeah.
Wow, Kilmarnock. A little bit too close to Kilwinning for my liking. People, regular listeners, will think he never mentioned Kilwinning in this episode, but yes, I have, and I'll never go back. Well, thank you so much. Please, for our regular listeners, watchers, check out Jo's tour, check out her book as well. A big thank you for you all to tune in. Thank you for those in particular that sign up to the podcast Patreon. We really appreciate your support. For just £3 a month, slightly less even, you can get exclusive content and early episodes. So please do consider that if you want to support an independent podcast. Big thanks as always to the Stand Comedy Club and to Derek Gerard Photography, our wonderful continued sponsor. See you next time. Thank you.